What's up, everyone? In this video, we're going to be talking about the big events that are currently happening in the market that you definitely want to know about. And we're also going to talk about a couple of good setups for the rest of the week as well. Tom, we're not going to waste any time, so let's get right into today's video.
Yeah, definitely, Mike. So the market was really shaky today. Early on in pre-market, we were actually down quite a bit. Then we ripped right back up, double topped around that 413 resistance. Now we came right back down and we're kind of hovering around 410 here. So not the best day. We did end up closing in the red by 0.3%, but there is some pretty big news here going on regarding China and Nancy Pelosi. So Nancy Pelosi is traveling right now to speak in a lot of different countries. She arrived in Singapore today, and then she's obviously going to be traveling around to a few other places here. As I go into the article, it says she will arrive in Singapore Monday, of course, and then she'll also stop over in Hawaii, and then also maybe travel to Malaysia, South Korea, and Japan. But they did not mention Taiwan. But it does say up here at the top that she is expected to go to Taiwan, and this is very important because there's a lot of stuff going on between China and Taiwan where China has almost talked about doing something with Taiwan, similar to what Russia's been doing with Ukraine. So it is a little bit scary of a situation. And China's president, Xi Jinping, warned Biden not to play with fire over Taiwan and actually had some pretty explosive statements over the past couple of weeks regarding them. So it is a pretty scary situation. It does say here that China's military will not sit by idly if Nancy Pelosi plans a visit there. There has been rumors that China might try to shoot down her plane or at least maybe intercept it, at least try to stop her from going in any way that they can. So it's a very scary situation. Obviously, this could end up maybe rolling over into some China stocks and stuff like that. I will say, looking at China stocks across the board, BABA did actually end up closing green today on the news, but nonetheless, this is pretty scary here.
Exactly. So there is a lot of speculation when it comes to this event / catalyst. Of course, Russia recently invaded Ukraine, and that has been horrible in multiple different ways. And like Tom said, China is kind of eyeing up Taiwan in the same way. But of course, there's a ton of speculation. Any escalation between China and Taiwan would not only be bad for the world, but it would also impact valuations of both Chinese stocks and American stocks. So keep that in mind. Again, there's a lot of ifs and thens in this situation, but it's just something to keep in mind over the next couple days.
We'll have to see what ends up happening. As we know, China, they make a lot of threats, and they've been making threats like this over the years with a lot of different things. So hopefully it's just all talk. But nonetheless, here, those China stocks were a little bit shaky, especially early in the morning. And we do have some big ones reporting here, Mike. I mean, BABA is going to have some earnings coming up later in the week on Thursday. I know this morning we had a couple other ones report, so it's definitely going to be interesting. And I know BABA is a stock that's been on a lot of people's radar lately. Looking at it on the yearly chart, we're right down there around support again.
Exactly. So some of these China stocks are like Alibaba, Baidu, which is BIDU. You have JD, PDD. But honestly, you might just want to trade like a Chinese ETF like KWEB or FXI if you do want to play this China catalyst. But Tom, moving into the next subject, which would be earnings. So I know you mentioned BABA reports later in the week, but we do have another pretty eventful schedule in terms of earnings.
Yeah, we definitely do. So tomorrow morning, guys, be on the lookout for Uber, Caterpillar, and British Petroleum. Those are three pretty big companies. Caterpillar, Mike, was honestly all over the place today. Uber has been another stock that's had a lot of momentum. So let's look at Uber intraday today because they were up 4.9% heading up into this earnings report. Hopefully they can report a bit of like an uptick in sales and stuff like that. I know Uber's had some issues lately, obviously, with the pandemic and, a lot of issues with gas prices going up and stuff like that. I know a lot of people have been at least talking about that the drivers have had issues like paying gas and stuff. So we'll have to see how those numbers end up playing out. But on the daily chart, Uber, Mike, looks like it's honestly starting to move up in a pretty big way. And if these earnings go well, I could see us maybe coming up and retesting $26 to $27 pretty safely at least.
Yeah, it is pretty oversold. So we'll see what happens. With all earnings, there's almost always a lot of extra volatility that comes into the stock. So keep that in mind for all of these plays. But looking back at the calendar for this week, Tom, we do have some pretty big earnings. Even AMD and PayPal after close tomorrow. Later in the week, we have AMC, Square. and a couple other ones like Fubo, Twilio on Thursday, and then good old DraftKings on Friday. And then, so, it'll definitely be an exciting week to say the least.
Yeah, it definitely will. One that I'm also keeping on my radar is going to be Lucid on Wednesday. I know a lot of people have been watching these EV stocks, so hopefully Lucid can report some good numbers. I know I have been seeing some pretty good production numbers lately, so hopefully they report that they're on track to meet their yearly goals and everything like that. Kind of like Tesla is on track to, at least as of now. So I know Tesla, Mike, was actually doing pretty well with their earnings, but plus we have Oxy, Mike, and this is actually a big one because Warren Buffett is honestly into them pretty big. I know that he's been buying up shares a lot lately, and we've been paying a lot of attention to that position. So hopefully he continues to help push this stock forward. I know those higher gas prices might help too.
All right, there we go. So, Tom, what else do we have going on in the market?
Yeah, so Pepsi had some big news today, Mike. They actually bought out, or I shouldn't say they bought out, they took a $550 million stake in Celsius, guys. And this is an 8.5% stake in the company, but this is huge, Mike. This is going to really help Celsius. It's reported here that Celsius's revenue actually soared 217% in the first quarter as the demand for energy drinks have been soaring. So that's really cool to see. Celsius does have a stock, guys. It's CELH on the ticker. It was up 11% today. And I will say, Mike, even Pepsi had a really good day on the daily chart. And look at that daily setup. They're almost up to yearly highs here, almost breaking out in a way.
Yeah, so I'm sure a lot of you guys already know of Celsius, and of course you know of Pepsi, but Celsius is an energy drink that has just been exploding in popularity over the past couple of years, but especially this year. So I think it is pretty interesting to see Pepsi, take a $550 million stake in Celsius. So again, the ticker symbol is CELH. And I think this is going to be a strategic deal both for Celsius and Pepsi. One, it will really, really help Celsius with their distribution. When you partner up with or not necessarily partner up, but when I guess you could say, kind of get integrated into the Pepsi, just like distribution network, that should be huge for a drink that's already exploding in popularity. So it's just something I'm going to keep my eyes on.
Yeah, definitely. And who knows, looking at this daily chart, we're kind of getting up to around that big 110 resistance on Celsius's chart. It might be a pretty good breakout play if we continue to see this one pop up above $100 over the next few days. So I'll definitely keep my eyes on it. I will say that it looks like they do have earnings coming up though on August 11th. So be a little careful with that. That will probably bring in some more volatility. But hey, if this energy drink is really exploding in demand, Mike, maybe they'll have some good earnings coming up.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, do we have any other major news to know about?
Nothing too crazy today. There was some news with home prices cooling at a record pace, but it does look like while it did cool at a record pace and it fell by 2 percentage points, we're still sitting at an annual price appreciation of 17.3%. So that still seems pretty big, Mike, even though it is cooling down. And then the SEC did charge 11 people in an alleged $300 million crypto Ponzi scheme. Just be careful, guys. I know even on YouTube, lots of people are posting scams and stuff like that in the comments. There's a lot of bots and stuff like that out there. So always be wary, especially when it comes to crypto and stuff like that. I've seen so many stuff, Mike, and you can see right here, they charged 11 people and these guys got $300 million from investors. I mean, that's pretty big.
Yeah, be very careful, guys. So yeah, Tom, let's get right into the momentum plays for tomorrow. With the first one, we have Roblox to the upside.
RBLX, go ahead and make them break above that double top there, right around 45.80.
All right, with the next one, we have DraftKings, also to the upside.
Good old DraftKings here. Yeah, go ahead and make them break above that high of day, right around 14.27. Honestly, just make them break 14.30. That's a pretty decent resistance.
All right, and then with the next one, we have Microsoft for both ways.
Yeah, both ways here. Yeah, so go ahead and make them break to the downside below 276. You can see there was a pretty big wick there in the middle of the day, so definitely use that as a pretty good support at 276 to break below if we do go down. Now, if Microsoft does start ripping to the upside, look for a nice pop above 280. That was a pretty good little resistance here intraday today, and I think if we break 280, we could easily come up and maybe test 282.
Sounds good. So we were watching Microsoft, DraftKings, and Roblox for potential day trades to the upside tomorrow, only if they break above the levels Tom listed. And then with Microsoft, we also have that downside level as well. So if it breaks below that, it is also a potential day trade to the downside. But if you guys like our style of videos, make sure to subscribe. We post brand new videos every single day. And we also want to give a giant shout out to today's member of the day, Niz Heath, in the Stocked Up Discord chat. Huge shout out to you. Thank you so much for all of your activity lately. Tom and I really appreciate it, and we're happy to have you in the chat. But Tom, do you have any other last minute stocks or anything you want to mention before we close out?
Yeah, I did see that Pinterest is running here in after hours, Mike. I just saw an article, from CNBC. They're saying that they had better than expected user numbers, which is great, even though their financials were disappointing. So I know that Pinterest isn't any like market breaking stock, kind of like Meta or Twitter is as far as like social media companies go. But hey, I figured I'd mention it. They're really running up in after hours quite a bit. And if they had good user numbers, that's great to see. So hopefully Pinterest can keep running up, Mike. This is honestly a pretty big move here in after hours. You can see this blue line is showing how high they are in aftermarket here, or I should say in after hours. So they're going to open up tomorrow, Mike, at a pretty big level. And honestly, that's around a pretty big resistance there at 24.
Awesome. There we go. Well, guys, we're definitely set for another action-packed week as we have a lot of big earnings that are yet to release as we looked at the calendar earlier in the video. So be prepared for more volatility. I know last week was absolutely insane with all of the movement that we had, even with news that wasn't the best, especially with the GDP report. But either way, more volatility is expected. Subscribe if you're new, and let's have an amazing week.